Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Brenda Perryman Show right here on TV 33 WHPR, Comcast 20 in Detroit. And I have a wonderful show for you today. I am just blessed to have this show. I'd like to thank, of course, Mr. Henry Tyler and Mr. R.J. Watkins for allowing me to be here. And, of course, I'd like to thank you for joining me. If you want to call in this morning, 313-868-0342, 868-0351. By the way, if you have an Android phone or an iPhone, you could go to your app store and you can download a free TV33 WHPR app onto your phone so you can watch us anywhere and everywhere, courtesy of the World Wide Web, www.tv33whpr.com. And I'd like to introduce my first guest to you. I met him year before last now. He was in my play, but he's well known in the community. Mr., or I call him Judge, William Giovan. Good morning.
Good morning, Brenda.
How are you?
Oh, I'm fine, and I'm tickled and honored to be here.
Oh, I'm honored to have you here. Now, our background goes as this. A lot of you know that a year ago, a year and a half ago, really, I did a play called Dr. Sweet's Tinderbox that I wrote and directed. And it was about the Sweet trial, the Ocean Sweet trial. Dr. Sweet moved into a house at 2905 Garland Street in 1925, and the house was surrounded by neighbors who did not want to see a black man move into the neighborhood, and they started throwing stones at the house. And he was in the house with his brothers, his wife, and some friends. And a shot rang out and killed one of the men who was surrounding the house, who was across the street. And that went to trial. There were two trials. One trial ended in a hung jury, and the next trial, Dr. Sweet and Henry Sweet and the people involved were found not guilty by an all-white jury. And the jurist, the judge, was Judge Frank Murphy, as our Hall of Justice is known for, Judge Frank Murphy. And Judge Giovan, who is a retired Wayne County Circuit Judge, he was Chief Judge of the Wayne County Circuit Court, he played Judge Frank Murphy in the play, and he did a wonderful job. Such a wonderful job that a lady came up to you and said, "Gosh, you look so real." You know.
Well, I hope I was real.
Yeah, well, you have an acting background, but before we talk about the Sweet trial or any of that, let's kind of talk about you. You were born in Detroit, correct?
I was, and you want to know something? I was born on the next street over from where the incident happened on Garland Street. I was born on Bewick. Mack
right?
and Bewick.
Yeah, and the incident happened just a street over on Garland.
Yes, it did.
So,
which is one of the reasons I had a particular interest in your show, you know.
Well, I was really happy because when we were doing auditions, I get a call from Judge Giovan, said, "I'd love to play Frank Murphy." I said, "Oh, I'd love that too." So there you go, and that's how we met, and through rehearsals and getting to know him, I just respect him so much. Now, did you go to Howe Elementary?
No, I went to St. Bernard's and Guardian Angels.
Oh, okay, Catholic
grade
school.
Yes.
Because Howe Elementary was right around the corner from you then. It was not too far from you.
Yeah, that's true. That was actually my grandfather's house where I was born, and moved. I lived farther down on Mack and Beneto's.
Oh, okay.
Lived there for a while, and that's when I went to St. Bernard's till the 4th grade, and then I've been an East Sider all my life.
Wow, you stayed on the East Side, yes. And after you graduated, well, wait a minute. I have to let you know, Judge Giovan not only is a jurist, he is an actor. So you put of course, a lawyer, he's a lawyer. A lot of people say lawyers are actors anyway, but tell me, how did you get interested in the law, and how did you get interested in acting?
You know, talk about the law. You want to hear something strange? I was in the 2nd grade, and the second grade nun, for some reason, decided to have a debate. So they had a young girl and myself being the debaters to talk about, I don't know whether cats were better than dogs or something. And so she made me get up in front of the class and make the argument. I have to tell you, Brenda, I had a rush of a feeling that I cannot explain to you. It made me want to keep on doing that. And when I got to high school, one of the first things I did is I got on the debate team. And then I did the same thing in college at the University of Detroit. I was on the debate team there. And it's really that experience that made me want to be a trial lawyer. And so I have to tell you, from the second grade is when my
Wow, that's
when
amazing.
my first ambition to become a lawyer, and I actually did eventually.
Well, I can understand that. I remember in kindergarten, I used to put on plays with I didn't even know what a play was, but we were play acting off of stuff we see on television. But I kind of knew that was something else I wanted to do. And I tell people, the things that you do when you're young, that might be your passion for the future, don't you think?
Well, obviously, you know, we're built on how we start in life, I think, to a great extent.
So what about the acting piece?
Well, I was my first play was I went to De La Salle High School in my senior year. They did a play. I had a small part in that play, and I really liked it. And that experience was also so gratifying that at the same time I started college, I joined the Grosse Pointe Theater. I didn't live in Grosse Pointe at the time, and then I was also in shows at the Players at the
On Jefferson?
at the University of Detroit.
Oh, okay.
The student group.
Oh, okay.
For a while, I was in both, but that got to be too much. So I was in plays during my undergraduate experience at the University of Detroit.
Well, I have so many actors in the studio today. My regular producer's not here. I have Chris Sumrall, who's just in a film I made, and then we have two actors who are coming on, they're in a play called Idol, and I can't wait to have them on. So we have a studio full of thespians this morning. So, Judge, how many plays have you been in?
Well, after I got out of law school, I went back to the Grosse Pointe Theater, and I've been in shows ever since, you know, a couple while I was still in college, and then a number of them later, and you know, I haven't counted them, maybe 20.
At least.
Not counting Dr. Sweet's Tinderbox, which was one of my finest experiences.
Oh, well, that was a fine experience for all of us. Now, did you, what kind of lawyer were you?
Well, I was in general practice, but I started out doing trial work on, in personal injury cases, first on the defense side, and then later on the plaintiff side. And then early in my career, just by chance, I happened to win a short-term judgeship on the Recorder's Court. I never expected that I'd become a judge, but back in 1966, it was a peculiarity in the election laws that allowed me to be a judge for 6 weeks. And that experience is what allowed me to eventually become a full-time judge, which I ended up doing for 33 years.
Oh, my goodness. So as far as, have you seen any particular difference in the laws from, back in 1966, have you seen any laws like evolve into not being a law at all, or, I mean, just any big changes, or have noted changes that you've seen in the law?
You know, like so many things in life, there's a pendulum of things. The law tends to go in one direction for a while, and then between liberal and conservative views, and that has a lot to do with the composition of our state Supreme Court. For a while, the laws will, let's say, tend to be in favor of people who bring personal injury actions in court or malpractice cases, and then the pendulum will swing the other way, and the cases get more conservative, and then, now,
It's a conservative court now, isn't there?
Well, there've been, actually, I think right now we have a very, there's differences of opinion about that, but it's becoming a more balanced Supreme Court.
Oh, okay.
In recent times. There have been some very fine people who've become added to it in recent times, and some very fine people who've been on it for a long time. I have several former colleagues of mine on the Wayne County Circuit Court, Judge Zara, and there's another one or two. It's generally a fine court.
Okay, I'd like to go to the Sweet trial. I know it happened in 1925, but it had some very key components to it that are relevant today as far as racial relations, as far as gun control, other things.
Well,
don't you think?
That was a very significant trial. Actually, it was nationally known. One of the best-known lawyers in the whole country, Clarence Darrow, was retained by the NAACP, who came in to defend Dr. Sweet and his brother. And this was a time when, actually, this was a time when the Ku Klux Klan, at the time of this incident, had a lot of influence in the city. And that's one of the remarkable things about the outcome of this trial. In the year before Dr. Sweet bought his house, relations in the city of Detroit were such that the Ku Klux Klan and their minions were able to go to a house and move another black doctor right out of his
Right,
house.
he moved him right, because he lived over near Tireman.
Yes.
And it was the Tireman Avenue
Right.
Association or something. They moved him right, they came in the house, moved him out, and they made him sign over the deed to the house to them.
So can you imagine the courage that it took for Dr. Sweet to less than a year later, to buy a house in an all-white neighborhood?
I know, and the reasons they bought it wasn't necessarily because it was an all-white neighborhood, because it was just a middle-class neighborhood. But it was across the street from a school and a playground. They had a little girl, and it was just regular family reasons, too.
And, he came from, a well-educated family. He was one of, Dr. Sweet was the oldest, if I'm not mistaken, about 10 children. And I think every one of them went to college.
Well, one was a dentist, Otis Sweet, and then Henry Sweet was in college, and he was in college at the time of the shooting, and he was the one they accused of the shooting, of course, but they put everybody on trial. So what do you think, well, the implications, you think about it back then, I want to mention the Ku Klux Klan one more time, is the fact that they even ran a candidate for mayor.
They backed a candidate for mayor, and I think, I'm trying to think whether their candidate was the one that the judge later beat when he became mayor. Judge Murphy later became mayor of the city of Detroit.
Right, but I think what happened was, from my remembrances, is the other candidate, I think it was something on the right ends why he didn't get to be mayor, the Ku Klux Klan guy. It was something about the right ends.
Oh, yes, okay.
It was about the right ends. Isn't that ironic?
Well, okay, now it's coming back to me. That's right. He won, the Ku Klux Klan candidate won at first on a write-in
Right.
vote. The case was challenged in court, and
Because the write-ins weren't spelled correctly.
and a circuit judge invalidated the election.
Isn't that funny, everybody?
Here we are again.
In 2013, we're still dealing with something like this.
But I think the law has changed. This was a very strict interpretation. And I think it was a white judge who disqualified the Ku Klux Klan
It
candidate.
had to be, because there were no black judges then. It had
Well,
to be.
that's a good point.
Yeah, it had to be a white judge who did it. But the thing about it was Judge Frank Murphy insisted on fairness in this trial, and it was an all-white jury both times, right?
That's the remarkable thing about this case is that, it shows you that when you really do an effective appeal to the human heart, and Judge Murphy conducted such a fair trial that in this kind of an milieu, this kind of an attitude in the city of Detroit when race relations were so difficult, that 12 white men were able to see their way to find these defendants not guilty.
And the interesting thing about the first trial that ended up in a mistrial was they said that behind the door of the jury room, if you could hear the jury room, they were fighting in there, throwing chairs at each other and everything. The jurors were, the men, and it was men, everybody. Women weren't allowed on the jury, weren't on the jury at that time. Isn't that right?
That's true. This was all male. Both juries were.
And then that second jury, what do you think made that second jury come with the not guilty verdict?
Well, I think a lot of it had to do with Clarence Darrow. This is a man who was able to take a defendant's case and articulate it in a way so that even common people sitting on a jury could understand the fairness. He emphasized the fact that these people in this house were the fear that they had, the natural fear that they had with a big crowd of white people ready to attack the house. And he made this jury understand by the witnesses he presented. He went through all the difficulty that Judge Sweet had in his life, including when he was a young boy and saw a black man
Yeah, he was hiding.
hiding.
He was, Dr. Sweet was hiding. Well, he wasn't Dr. Sweet, but he was hiding, and he watched them burn a black man.
Yeah, well, Mr. Darrow made this all-white jury understand the fear that was in the heart of these people, and of course emphasized their right to be where they were. And it was a pure case of self-defense.
That was pure self-defense.
And of course the facts of the case. And he was also, let me tell you, there were some people who got on the stand and tried to make it look like there were only a handful of people outside the house, and Mr. Darrow was very effective in showing that they were not telling the truth. And between that and his very effective appeal, and not to mention Judge Murphy's instructions to the jury that made it plain that they should be exquisitely fair in making this decision, all that worked into having a proper result, which in this case was a not guilty.
Now, Judge Frank Murphy went on to be mayor of Detroit.
Then governor of the state of Michigan. And then he caught the attention of President Roosevelt. He was appointed Governor General of the Philippines. Then the president appointed him Attorney General of the United States. And finally, a Justice of the United States Supreme Court. Very distinguished career.
Very.
A Detroit lawyer.
A Detroit lawyer. And that was, his story inspire you any?
Well, of course, you can't be a lawyer in Detroit like I was, and by the way, I've returned to being a lawyer in Detroit after having retired from the bench. I have my offices downtown. You can't be a lawyer in Detroit and not learn a lot about Frank Murphy. The Frank Murphy Hall of Justice, of course, is named after him. I'm on the board of the Detroit Bar Association, and every once in a while we give an award. We give the Frank Murphy Award to a lawyer who has made outstanding contributions to the law. And Frank Murphy is kind of the patron saint of lawyers in Detroit.
Wow. Well, why don't you tell, we've talked about this, and what we're going to try to do, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to try to get a grant so that we can do that play again several times, because the last time we did it, it was standing room only, and they had to turn people away. And there's so many appeals that are relevant today, we want to do it and have a talk-back session.
I hope you will excuse me if I tell your audience that your hostess here did a marvelous job of taking two trials and condensing them into a presentation that lasted about an hour and 15 minutes, and captured the whole history of the Sweet case and two trials into one, and made it sound relevant and together.
It worked.
It was very,
It worked.
very effective, and we can thank Brenda Perryman for
Well,
that.
the thing was that the task was to do the second trial from the Michigan Council of Humanities through the African American Museum, was just to do a reenactment of the second trial. But my thing was, what if they don't know about the first trial? What if they don't know the background?
Yeah.
And so I had to condense that
Right.
into it in the beginning, and I had you lead off.
Right, and you used just Frank Murphy, the judge, as kind of a narrator to bring the audience up to date about what happened in the first trial, and then of course we continued in the second trial.
And then we placed the witnesses in the audience, and that made it even come more alive,
Yes.
don't you think?
Well, the witnesses and the jury.
Oh, yeah. We got the way we got the jury. Any white man who came into the...
became a member of the jury sitting in the front
We
row.
had them sit there. We had seats marked for the jury. They had to be a white man, though. And we had enough, and of course I had the envelope backstage with the verdict in it. But what got me about the men, they were so great, because when the clerk brought them backstage, they were giving each other high fives and everything. And then I gave them the envelope, and then the guy who would be the jury foreman, he was real dramatic. He said, "We, the jury, find the defendant," and he took a break, "not guilty," and the audience went nuts.
It was very good. It was very effective.
Yeah.
The lawyers were able to argue to the audience because the jury was sitting there right in the middle of the...
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I just think that when you break down that wall to do something like that, it works. But I think another more important thing about this case is its relevance to today. Would you just briefly mention some of the points we talked about, why it's relevant?
Well, you know, we've come a long way in civil rights in this country, but you know, the work is not over, and we read in the paper every day about incidents, Trayvon Martin and everything else, and so even though things have improved, you know, we're still evolving. This is a brand new country. It's only you know, a couple hundred years old, and in the history of the world, you know, that's not
Very old.
That's not
when you
very
look at the
old.
rest of the world,
And,
right?
So we're still evolving, and so a lot of what happened back there in the 20s is still relevant today.
And it's about people feeling other people should not live around them. They're kind of doing that again.
Well, there's still vestiges of that. You know, it's unfortunate that, you know, it's just a fact that, you know, Detroit we're still it's to a large extent, a segregated
racially
community.
polarized.
And that's too bad because we still have to get over that. We still have a lot of work to do.
A lot of work. I just think that if we can start talking some things out and understanding, that's why I thought this play was so important, and that's why I thought that people really got into the piece. And it's funny, in Dr. Sweet's narrative in the play, he talked about certain parts of the city not having lighting. Remember?
And here we are again.
Here we are again. Here we are
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
Certain parts of the city doesn't have street lights. The sewerage was bad, and everything. So
Yes, like as I say, things go on a pendulum. Detroit, after the 20s, became more and more prosperous. The high point was in the 50s, and then the pendulum began to swerve the other way because of a lot of things. It's not just race; it was economics, the auto industry, and everything else. And we've come, Detroit filed bankruptcy. People would say we're at a low point, but Detroit is recovering, and now, and people are becoming, because we've got to this point, people are becoming more aware of the importance of regionalism, the importance of working together. It's not just the city of Detroit. The city and the suburbs, we're all, in the world, we're all one speck. If you looked at us from outer space, we'd be this small. We think we're apart, but we're all here in this together. And Detroit's coming back, and it's going to come back.
well, I think it is. I think it is. But I think people need to open their minds and start communicating, because it seems to me that there's a lot of us versus them that's going on, and people don't trust the government.
Well, that's always with us. Government is always suspect, but we have no other place to go. And and I think we've learned a lesson in recent times. I think Detroiters, as well as everyone else, has to be more attentive to the people that we put in public office.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
recent events
Oh, yes.
Prove that, don't they?
Yes, they do.
It's really important not just to pick the glibest, the person who's got the best line, who's we're facing an important election here in Detroit, and we've got to. Yes, there's always going to be suspicions about government, and it's, in a way, it's healthy to be suspicious about government, because the people who we elect to public office have the same weaknesses that the rest of us have, and we have to be attentive to that, and we have to put people there who can do the best job for us, and we have to be more careful about who we elect to occupy those very important positions.
Very careful, very, very careful, and because when you elect someone to a position, you have put your faith in them, don't
Yes,
you?
absolutely.
And
It's a public trust, obviously.
you were elected, right?
Yes, I've been elected and appointed. Judges in Michigan can be appointed if there's a vacancy. I was my first job as a judge I was elected, as I indicated, to a 6-week position on the Recorder's Court, the same court where the Sweet trial was held, by the way. And then later I was appointed by Governor Milliken to a full-time position, and then he appointed me again 3 years later to the Circuit Court, and then I did have to run every 6 years. So judges might get into office in the first instances either by appointment when they're appointed to fill a vacancy, or by election. It happens both ways.
Well, I'm just saying, I admire anyone who would put themselves out there to be elected, or it's just, that's a lot of work. And it's a lot of you putting yourself right out in front, too.
Well, it is. We elect judges in about half the states, and the other half, roughly, there's some kind of
Selection.
appointed systems. And we get good judges and bad judges sometimes from both systems. So there's no, experience shows that there's no perfect system. And of course, it's very important. That's obviously a very important position. And unfortunately, the general public doesn't get as much exposure to the people who occupy judicial offices as they do to presidents and senators and mayors and the rest of them. But it's work that's just as important as any other. And we have to do our best to get to know our judges and keep the best of them.
Well, you were a great judge, Judge Giovan, and I still call you Judge, and you're a great actor. And we hope to work together again on the sweet trial and to get the word out.
I understand you want to take it on the road.
Yeah, oh, definitely. I have people out of state who want to see it.
Really?
Seriously. Because
Well, I hope you're going to keep me on the cast.
Yeah, of course,
Okay,
of
all right, all
course,
right.
of course, of course. I'm waiting for, I got you on the front page of that paper, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. Listen, nothing could be more fun than to do this show again sometime and to take it out of state would be.
Oh, we will. We will, because I bought into it. We will. Henry Sweet, Lawrence, who played Henry Sweet, is now out in California.
Oh, is he?
Mm-hmm. But maybe he'll come back in for this.
For that, he'll come back.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you that I was so happy to have Judge here this morning. I want you to stand by because we have two actors for you who are going to tell you about a brand new production by Miss Janea Black. We'll be back in just a moment. Thank you, Judge, so much.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to TV 33 WHPR, the Brenda Perryman Show. I think I'm a little off center here, but that's okay. That's okay. We'll get that together in just a moment. But I'd like to introduce my guests this morning, Krystal Hill and Des Cortez. They're both actors here in Detroit, and they're in a lot of shows. And wow, you're in a new show that's coming out by Janea Black called Idol, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
So how long, well, let's get a little background information going here. Krystal, where'd you grew up here in Detroit, or?
Yes, I grew up in Southwest Detroit. I was in Mosaic Youth Theater of Detroit from 1998 to 2003. I went to Xavier University in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Oh, yes, yes.
Where I got a bachelor's of music in music vocal performance, minor in languages. And I
Good.
came back and taught for various school districts. I taught drama and I taught music. And right now I'm just doing after school programs and also doing some music vocal lessons on the side. And just
She
got
talks
my
like a
master's.
singer, doesn't she? She sounds like a singer. That's what I forgot to mention about Judge. Judge is a singer. He's singing at the Detroit Tigers game on the 27th of August. He has a quartet, right? Oh, and you're singing a cappella, huh? Oh, wow. Well, these singers, you could tell. I mean, they take care of their voices. I sing, but not a singer. Des.
How you doing? I'm Des Cortez. I actually grew up like right around the corner from this studio, not far. So Detroit born, raised, Highland Park guy. Went to UAD High. Then I played football and did some theater at Central Michigan University. Came back here and I've been doing plays, movies, and everything
Yeah,
else ever since.
everything I pick up, your face is on it.
Yeah, I try to keep it out there.
So it's interesting being a working actor in Detroit. And I say working, I wonder, are we able, like I know, of course, I have friends and former students in Chicago and LA and everything, New York, who are making a living. When do you think our actors will be able to really make a living acting here?
Wow, it's hard to say. I think when we really start to support each other.
That's a for sure. Yeah.
When you say that, what do you mean, support each other? We don't.
We don't. We don't support our local actors, our local theaters. We go out a lot, and I can attest to it. I've been more welcomed in California and Atlanta and New York and Chicago more than I am in Detroit.
Definitely. We definitely have to find a way to come together and start working together. I can't even remember right now how many plays I've done, but it's people who know me, who are very close to me, who still haven't came to one, and they know about it. Of course, they see it all the time. It's just we have to realize that if we don't do it, nobody else will. And with us losing the money for
Film?
for the film, that was a hard hit for us too. This would have been the
Well,
time.
yeah, it was a hard hit, but the thing about it, Des, is so many independent filmmakers weren't getting the money from them anyway.
Okay.
A lot of that money was coming into the bigger budgeted films, more so. And then some who were kind of, I think, known, they were getting the money, because every production I've worked on, they weren't getting the money. Even when the money was there, they weren't getting the money. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
A lot of
very
it
much so.
came from Hollywood. Hollywood actors. But the thing that people don't realize is the arts are very, very important, and very important in your hometown. But sometimes you cannot depend. You can't put your stock in even family members.
You're right.
I was on a national speaking tour, spoke all over this country. My brother has never seen me speak. I spoke at Cobo Hall. We flew into Detroit to speak at Cobo Hall. My brother has never been there. So, I mean, if you bank on that,
Yeah, you're right.
So tell me the kind of roles that you like to play. How many shows have you been in, Krystal?
I've been in countless shows, from operas to classical theater, and I just love doing a range of characters.
That's excellent, excellent. And that's important, and we'll hit that back in a minute. Des?
I really like to range myself. I love comedic roles also, but I also like the roles when people feel like that's exactly what I would have done, or that's exactly how I would have felt in this situation. The type of roles that touch people, I like those roles also.
They say that people who are funny can play the most serious roles, and I've seen you play.
Yeah, I played some of the most silly people, and then I play in this play Idol. I'm playing.
Very
I
serious
play some
role.
very serious roles also.
Tell us about your character in Idol.
I don't want to give him away, but he is he runs the club that most of the scenes take place at, and he's a no nonsense kind of guy. He's a if I do for you, then you're definitely going to do for me type guy. And he just rules with an iron fist, and he's deceitful. He's sort of a liar, but at the same time, you kind of see the manipulation coming.
Okay.
But it's like you want to warn the character, like, no, but you can't. So it's pretty cool.
Okay, and Krystal, what character do you play?
I play, I don't want to give it away also, but I play the girlfriend of one of the leading roles in the play, and she's also no nonsense. She's very frank. What she says, she means, and she's not going to take any stuff off of anybody.
Oh, good, good. Well, I want to go back to what you were saying. Like you've done classical theater and so forth and so on. I think it's very important for people to have a well-rounded range of experiences, don't you, too?
Definitely. At Central Michigan, I did Top Dog, Underdog.
Oh, I love
Susan
that.
Laurie Parks.
Right.
Two guys, over 100 pages of lines, and you have to hold that audience for those 2 hours or hour and 45 minutes. And to me, that was an opportunity for me to really step into something different and do those different lines and just see a whole production come together also. A lot of people don't see that when the backstage people come from different place, the lighting come from different place, audio come from different place, and everybody comes together and put together this beautiful show. I was happy to have the opportunity to do that there.
Right. Top Dog Underdog was in New York with Mos Def. Mos Def did that. I have a
Yeah.
copy of that at home. And what other kind of shows have you been in?
I've done Tremonisha.
Oh, Tremonisha,
I've also
the
done
opera.
Pearly.
Oh,
Pearly.
oh, yes.
Yes,
Very
loved doing Pearly.
I've directed that a few
Pearly.
times. Yeah.
You said it's a little
Well,
difficult.
were you? No, it isn't difficult at all. Ludi Bell, were you Ludi
I
Bell?
was Ludi Bell.
Well, I think that you should have a well-rounded range of experiences. The thing I've seen here in Detroit, and that's why maybe I don't direct as much outside as I used to. I see a lot of the same types of plays, and maybe that too is a reason that
Right.
people, you know, it was so funny because some of the comments that about the play that Judge was in and the Sweet Trial was everybody said it wasn't the same kind of play. You know, I think that the more that people write about different things, because there are a lot of different experiences.
Oh, yes.
Don't you agree?
Yes.
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 I think we have to kind of branch out of the circle
Right.
and get out of that box and really just, you know, take on different topics and different subjects because people want something different. They want something different.
I believe in it.
Yeah, we also have to come out our comfort zone. A lot of people know they can do a show at a small theater, write a couple laughs in, put some music in it, and make a couple dollars, you know. We have to have people who are willing to step out of that comfort zone, find different roads, different plays to put on, step into bigger venues and do those things. And until then,
Well, what about Idol? What are some of the things that the audience should be able to look for in Idol? Some of the
great music.
great
Great
music.
singing.
Who wrote the music?
Oh, a lot of different. Nunu Thurman wrote a song. She's actually in the play. Kamal Smith, he's in the play singing. Krystal, her beautiful voice is in the play.
Crystal.
Myself.
You're Crystal. I'm thinking of Crystal Parker. Yes, this Crystal.
Dolores also has.
Yes.
great-
Dolores
the
is a friend
singing.
of the show.
This
yeah.
is my first musical.
Oh.
And I kind of vowed that I wouldn't do musicals.
I love musicals.
But this one is excellent.
I love
I
musicals.
guess probably because I can't sing too, so that kind of.
Well,
Kind of shied away from it.
yeah.
you know, I could get in with the group.
You can
You
get-
know,
I couldn't even get in with
I
it.
mean,
Little
way in the back, way in the background with the group, isn't that right? But the thing about musicals is with good music and then good acting and so forth. So the music is one thing we have to look out for. What's another thing?
Great acting.
Oh yeah.
Awesome actors. Just not people coming in and saying, I want to be in this play.
Right.
Well,
But
we have
professional actors.
DeLorean Cotton, my former student.
Right.
Martini Harris, a friend of the show. He's been on here a couple of times. He was in Corner Store too.
Yeah.
And Dolores Harris. We have Kamal Smith, Crystal Hill, Nunu Thurman. Nunu, that's her name? Nunu.
Her
That's her
stage
stage
name.
name.
Oh, okay. Michael Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then London Allen.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. And this is going to be at the Northwest Activity Center on Saturday. It's just one show?
Two
There's
shows.
2 shows
Oh.
in one day.
Oh, okay. One is at 4 p.m. and the other one is 8. And it's only $20. You know, the people in New York would love to see a play for $20 in advance, $25 at the door. I mean, well, even $20 for the afternoon play,
Right.
and then $25 for the evening play, and it's slightly higher at the door.
Correct.
And what do you say the theme of this show is?
I think the theme is forgiveness, redemption, love, and God's love for us.
Yeah.
Oh, because it is a gospel play.
It is.
It is.
And everything. It's just really wonderful. It's interesting to see DeLorean in so many shows, too.
Yeah, he's doing great.
He's in
I-
everything.
He's
I
a
mean-
great actor. He brings some comic relief to the show. It's really good.
But he can do serious, too,
Oh, he
because
can,
like
for
I
sure.
said, I had him in high school, and I had him playing a multitude of characters in different plays and so forth and so on. So it's good to see, you know, you see him. And Janaea Black, she wrote this play,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is I think fourth or fifth time that I worked with Janaea. She's phenomenal. Always has been. Her mind for writing is excellent, and she's one of those people who thinks outside the box. You're not going
That's
to come
necessary.
to her play, and see something that you already saw. It's just not going to happen. She's going to totally take you from what you think the ending is going to be. It's going to be something totally different, and just capture the audience and get in their mind. And I really appreciate that about her.
Well, she's wonderful. I wish she could have been here this
Me too,
morning, because she's been on a couple of times. She's a friend of the show also,
Right.
and I really, really like her a lot. And she just directed the movie,
Yes.
Yes,
yes,
My
she
Sister's
did.
Keeper.
My Sister's Keeper.
Which is unbelievable.
It's awesome.
I cannot wait.
Yes.
Cannot wait for this one to come
I
out.
did a newscast in that in the play.
Did
yeah,
you?
well, you know, did you see the play? And then
Yeah.
I was in the play.
I was the newscaster
Yes.
lady. Yes, I was the newscaster lady. They said, I said, gosh, I don't even have to be there.
Right.
They put me on the screen. They
Yes.
put, and a lot of people text me, you're in this one? I said, oh my goodness. So where do you want to see yourself in 5 years?
Oh, wow. Well, I just graduated with my master's from Michigan State
In what?
youth development.
Oh, okay.
So long term, I would love to have my own nonprofit focusing positive youth development through the fine and performing arts.
Excellent. What about you, Daz?
In 5 years, I'm hoping to be, well, I have a new sitcom coming out, so I'm hoping that does well. In the 5 years, I would like to be on season 4 of that. Also, I would like to be doing more movies in L.A. But currently, right now, I'm an education specialist at the zoo, and what I do is the
Really?
programs for the underserved children. So I definitely want to, after I have to lead a zoo, take that and have the Des Cortez
Oh, yes.
Foundation and just do as many positive things. Because
Wonderful. So,
if it
so
wasn't for
what-
the people who were helping me when I was younger, I don't know
Well,
what I
that's
would
what
be doing.
you have to
Yeah.
do. You have to reach back, and you have to pay it forward,
You
too.
do,
Yes.
definitely.
You really have to pay it forward, because that's where you get a lot of your blessings from, too. And it's important. If you know how to do something that somebody else doesn't know how to do, and you think that might enhance their lives,
Yeah.
why not show them? You know, we can't be crabs in a barrel,
Yes.
pulling people down and so
Help each
forth.
other.
And I
Definitely.
think the arts can drive this city, don't you?
Yes.
100%,
Yes.
and that's what we're missing. They're taking all the arts out of the
schools.
out of schools, and just like we said, I was a student who I learned differently than a lot of other people, and it was because I was one of those artsy type guys, you know. And if we're losing some unbelievable talented people if we don't put art into these kids' lives, definitely.
Absolutely, I agree with that. And having been a teacher with the arts and stuff, I've seen the impact it's
Yes.
made on people to even write their own shows and teach lessons through their writing and so
Yes.
forth and so on. And I think that we just have to keep trudging along. I hate to say trudging. I think that the more theater, the better.
Yes,
I really think so, but it has to, sometimes we got to bring the audience up.
you're right.
You know, you got to uplift them. When I say up, I mean, Tyler Perry, you know, I admire the fact that he's done this and done that, and he's gotten people going to the theater. But the unfortunate thing sometimes is people don't know that there's serious theater out there to
Exactly.
see. And they have to, they're expecting the actors to talk to the audience, and then, golly.
No.
I mean, that's amazing. I
understand.
No, quick detour. I took my students down to the Fox. We were given tickets by Blue Cross Blue Shield or something. And so they served us dinner upstairs, and there was some play. And Leon was in the play. Fine, Leon.
He's a great actor.
He's a great actor, and I'm sorry he was in this play. But anyway, Russ Park came out to introduce the play, and he says, I want to tell the audience first thing that you cannot talk back to the actors can't talk back to you. And my students looked at me and said, Miss Perryman, why are they saying that? I said, you'll see. Sure enough, I mean, it was participatory theater. It was ridiculous. The audience, the man put his arm around the lady and said, get your hands off of her. You know, they've done things like that.
Wow.
I mean, that's not the way
No.
you're supposed to view theater at
Not
all.
at all. Not at all.
No.
And I think some of that has been encouraged with some of the plays that are out.
Definitely.
Well, I am looking forward, very forward to seeing Idol. Everybody, once again, it's September 7th.
Yes.
It's around the corner.
Right
Coming
around
up
the corner.
soon.
Gee, September 7th at 4 o'clock and at 8 p.m.
Yes.
at the Northwest Activity Center. $20 for the 4 o'clock show, $25 for the 8 o'clock show. These are advance tickets,
Right.
and then slightly higher at the door. And that's a good venue to see a play because they're not a million seats, but every seat is a good seat.
It is.
Yes.
Very much so.
Every seat is a good seat. And from what I know about these two actors, they're excellent. And some of the others you've seen before, they are excellent. And if you want a nice day of fun and enjoyment, go to dinner. Take a lady to dinner. Well, lady, take a man to dinner. I mean, we can both
Switch
kind of.
things up.
21st century now.
you know.
Yeah,
Hey,
let's
do it.
switch it up. Let's switch it up. Well, I'd like to thank you all for coming on my show, Krystal and Des.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you,
Oh,
Des.
it's
Thank
my
you very much.
pleasure. And everybody, you gotta see Idol.
Yes.
IDOL, which is something that is interesting. Who is the idol?
Ooh.
You have to come and see.
Ah, they're not giving me anything
That's
here.
kind of
You
part
have
of
to
it. That's
come
kind
and
of
see.
We can answer that. That's the whole show, maybe.
Oh, okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, join me again this afternoon for Table Talk with Brenda Perryman. We have, besides our regular Table Talk, we have the Senior Director of Development for the Detroit Lions on today. We're going to talk a little sports. So I will see you then. It's the men's show today. We're going to talk issues. Chris Summerall and Robert E. Thomas. So I will see you later. And thank you so much for joining us for the Brenda Perryman Show. See you next week.